Director Cheatle, how long have you been with the Secret Service? 29 years, right?
That's correct.
And how long have you been director of the Secret Service?
Just under 2 years.
During your tenure as director under the Secret Service, I know we're here today to talk about the assassination attempt on President Trump, but how many other security lapses have occurred with protectees under your watch?
I don't have a specific number, but there have been some lapses.
There have been other lapses. Was one of them Jake Sullivan?
Yes, sir.
What happened there?
There was an individual who was able to access Mr. Sullivan's residence.
His residence? A protectee, somebody was able to break into his house. And what happened? Did anyone get fired because of that?
There were individuals who have been reassigned.
Reassigned. What other steps have taken? What I'm seeing, what other incidents have occurred other than Jake Sullivan? Was there an issue with the Secret Service agent and Vice President Harris?
I would not call that a security incident.
Well, it seems to me, I mean, you have security lapses with President Trump. You have security lapses with Jake Sullivan. You have issues with your personnel related to Vice President Kamala Harris. There seems to be a repeated theme here. Would you not agree with that?
I think that we are talking about separate categories of incidents.
Well, I would disagree with that. I mean, I think there's a repeated theme when you've got protectees and you're not upholding your core mission. Let me ask you something else. Does the Secret Service routinely record communications between and amongst detail?
Radio communications?
Any communication?
Email communications are captured, as well as text messages, and then depending on the detail, radio communications are recorded.
Does the Secret Service have recorded communications from the July 13th event?
We do not have radio communications from that day.
But you have text messages?
We do have emails and text messages.
Emails, okay, great. Does the head of the Trump detail or someone else embedded in this detail have command decision-making authority, or do they need to seek authorization from someone outside that detail?
The head of the detail has the decision-making authority for things that are necessary for that detail.
Is that standard for protection details?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Let me ask you something. During campaign events, is it common for the Secret Service to utilize other agencies?
Yes, it is.
What other agencies would be providing assistance to the Secret Service?
There are a number of other agencies that provide assistance to the Secret Service during campaigns. We utilize personnel from the Department of Homeland Security. We utilize personnel from the Department of Defense, and we utilize local law enforcement partners.
Are you on the same radios? Do you provide the radios to all the assets that are taking part in protection of an event?
We provide radios to the personnel from the Department of Homeland Security that are assisting us.
But not local law enforcement?
Local law enforcement is working on their own radios.
Are you on the same frequency?
We ensure that we have counterparts in the security room, and so the local law enforcement will place one of their personnel in the security room with our personnel so that we have interoperability communications.
Let me ask you something just about the timeline, because I think this is really interesting that we can't nail that down. I mean, I think there are lay people out there with more knowledge about the timeline than you seem to come before a subpoena in front of Congress. Was Mr. Crooks observed at the AGR building prior to the shooting?
He was observed on the grounds outside of our perimeter prior to the shooting.
At approximately what time was that? You don't have to give me the specific minute, but at approximately what time was that?
I believe it was about 45 minutes or so prior to.
Did the sniper team take a photo of Mr. Crooks?
The local team did, yes.
So it was a local team and not a Secret Service sniper?
That took the photo.
Okay. And did he relay that photo to Central Command?
Again, it's an active ongoing investigation, so I want to make sure that I'm factual with the route that photo took and who that was disseminated to and when.
What time did when did Mr. Crooks' status go from a suspicion, a person that was under suspicion, to a threat? When did that happen? And maybe not even a specific time, Director Cheatle, maybe a certain event that happened that transformed him from a person of suspicion to a threat. When did that happen?
To the best of my knowledge, based on what I have been told thus far, it's approximately 5 minutes to where individuals relayed that there was an incident being, or an issue, I'm sorry, being worked at the 3 o'clock of the president.
So that was, but it was before the shots were fired?
That is correct, but again, it was not phrased as a threat. It was just that something was being worked.
Yeah, but my question is, when did he become, when did he transform from suspicion to threat? Because they're treated very differently. People can be suspicious, but they're not a threat until a certain point in time. So when did that happen?
I believe that it was seconds before the gunfire started.
Seconds. My gosh, we actually have a few questions that we got answered today. Listen, I'm going to wrap up here, Mr. Chairman, but here's the frustration that people have. The buck stops with you. You've said that yourself. But the problem in Washington, D.C., it is the only town in America that you can be so bad at your job that you actually get a promotion or don't get fired. You have not been able to answer the number of agents, whether or not requests were denied on additional security, whether or not law enforcement were able to engage before the shooting with the assassin, how he got on the roof, how the rifle got on the roof. You can't tell us how many shots he fired, whether the casings were recovered. You can't tell us anything about his cell phone. You can't tell us whether the rally was supposed to be postponed, given the intelligence that you were receiving. You can't tell us whether the car had a bomb. You can't even tell us his motive. And the American people are incredibly distrustful because it has taken 9 days to even get a scintilla of evidence out of you. Maybe if I was CNN or ABC or NBC, I would have gotten much more thorough and accurate information, but we have not received that in a subpoenaed hearing in front of this Congress. That is why the American people are frustrated, and I echo the bipartisan calls on this committee and all across this country that you should resign, or maybe when the president wakes up from his nap, he can fire you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chair now recognizes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.